Hello? Okay. So the YouTube video can't play while I'm doing this recording, but that's okay. Logic versus transhumanism. That is the question. Okay? Not to be or not to be, that is no longer the question. The question now is logic versus transhumanism. Which world do you want to live in? I would rather live in a logical world than a transhumanistic world. Okay, but a transhumanistic world is what we're moving toward. Okay, and it's very freaky and frightening when you think about it. Okay, I got to get back on the bus soon, so I got like 5 minutes to do this recording. Okay, I'll make this as quick as I possibly can, which is a challenge for me. Okay, there have been 3 stages of human evolution, human development. Okay, we are now it is considered that we are now moving into a 4th stage, okay, which is known as the transhumanistic stage. Now I'll get into that in a second. All right, it started with stage 1. Stage 1 was from about 300,000 years ago to about 10,000 years ago, between that time frame. That was when we were in basically the primitive primordial Neanderthal stage, okay? Cro-Magnon man, cavemen, stuff like that, okay? We were a very primitive race, species of people back then, okay? You know, hunters-gatherers, cavemen, all of that, okay? That was stage 1 of human evolution, okay? From about 300,000 years to 10,000 years ago, okay? During that time period is when Lemuria and Atlantis supposedly existed, which were a very advanced human civilization, but they were probably a branch of the human, species that came from another world or something at some point. All right, the rest of us developed from a sub-branch, and it took us longer we started developing long after our Atlantean cousins had already developed for probably 1 million years. But that's another discussion for some other time. Okay, so that was stage 1 of human evolution. Stage 2 was from about 10,000 years ago to about 500 years ago. Okay, and stage 2 was when empires started to grow. Okay, world conquest, and people basically moved from a hunter-gatherer stage to a agricultural stage. Instead of just walking around with sticks and clubs and stones and, killing animals and pulling weeds out of the ground to eat, all right, and basically living in family communities in caves, we moved from that development into an agricultural world where we built villages and communities and cities. That's also when cities started to be built, okay? And people learned how to, plant and basically how to till the land and to keep it, which is what Genesis, chapter 2 said Yahweh made Adam and Eve do, okay, until they discovered knowledge, okay? That's significant, okay? So that's when cities and agricultural communities and villages and empires started to be built. And that's also when people started, developing the belief system and idea of God and deities, and building, organizations to worship gods and deities. All right, so that because people in stage 2, we were out of stage 1, but we were still rather primordial and primitive. We hadn't learned how things really operate and how the world really works yet, and how, things actually, we didn't understand reality yet, because we hadn't developed logic and rationality and the principle of sufficient reason yet. We were still basically relying on our physical senses, okay, and relying on what other people told us was reality rather than learning reality for ourselves, okay? But a lot of things were accomplished in that stage, okay, and that lasted up until about 500 years ago. Then from 500 years ago until today is known as stage 3 of human evolution, and that was when people, left the primordial era of just worshiping deities and human emperors who told them what to do every day, and actually discovering knowledge and reason and logic for themselves. Stage 3 is the development of industry, science, and logic. Okay, that's when, all right, things like, mathematics was discovered, not invented, not created by man, but discovered by man. Okay, all right. It's when writing was, actually things like writing and transportation and all of that started to be developed in stage 3, but it advanced even further in started to be developed in stage 2, but it advanced even further in stage 3 with the advent of technology and science and industry, which developed better things, more convenient things, which helped mankind move forward. And it's also the stage where people became more intelligent, because now more people were learning how to read and to write, so that reading and writing was not reserved for the elites who simply told everybody else the way things were, because people were too stupid to learn for themselves because they hadn't learned how to read and write yet. In stage 3 is when we started learning how to read and write. Okay? So that was a great stage, okay? What we are now is now considered that we are moving into what is known as stage 4, the transhumanistic stage, which is when we go from being independent beings learning for ourselves to now a big collective network of, dependent individuals, that rely on a central, if you will, a central order or central emperor that simply dictates to us what it is that we're going to want and what it is we're going to learn and what it is that we will need. Okay? This is the stage where jobs are going to start being replaced by robots and machines and computers. This is the stage where everybody is going to be tracked. We're all going to be connected into some big global transhumanistic network, and all data out there is going to be filtered and decided on by whoever is in charge, and we're just simply going to be there to receive it, all right, and interact with it, whether we like it or not, okay? It's basically a Terminator stage, but instead of the Terminators coming to kill us, they're coming to take our jobs, if you will, and replace our independence with the dependency on, a collective network. It's also the stage where supposedly there's going to be some big globalist imperial revolution, is the way it was described. Big global imperial revolution, okay? Where, it's kind of the return back to stage 2, but instead of stage 2, being possible because everybody was stupid and just planted grain and harvested for a living and relied on the elites to tell them what to do for everything else. All right, we are now going to be connected into some big technological global network that dictates to us what it is we can do and the way things are and what it is that we are supposed to like and agree with against our will. Okay? I'll get into this more in better detail. On that note, signing off and goodbye.